Hello, guys. Hi. I hope everyone's doing really well. I feel like it's been so long since I've been live inside of this group. So I'm excited tonight to share some of my favorite professional resources with you and the why behind them. So I have a few things to share with you guys tonight, but first, because this community is just so awesome, I just wanted to first give a little shout out to some cool things that I've seen. I meant to share these shout outs last time I went live, but I thought I'll do them this time. So I had to cancel my live last month because we had some issues going on with our son, and he just needed us. There was lots of anxiety, still is, but it's not as intense. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to a few of our fellow educators here inside of this group. Now, these posts were from a little while ago, but I really enjoy them, and I still think they're really valuable to be looking at, considering all of the rules and regulations that we have to follow too. So the first one here is a natural weaving experience that Elizabeth River Baptist Daycare shared. So it looks like they just used some cardboard and some string or elastics, and they went on a hunt to find nature outside, and then they created these beautiful weaves with them. And that is a great way to still explore loose parts, be outside, and still create some nice art for your classroom too. If you wanted to, that you could still do it very individually. So thank you for sharing that. The next one is Michelle Ann. She shared the magnetile magnets or Picasso tiles, whatever you want to call them. They're the little blocks, that colorful, that stick together. They're all magnets. And what I loved about this is that she incorporated some other unique variables, such as like the different metal pieces, so that children could add different layers onto their creations. So I thought that one was really cool too, and I definitely want to try that out with our son, because he's very much into building lots of different creating lots of different buildings right now and creating cities. So I think if I were to give him some interesting new bits, that could be a lot of fun. So thank you for sharing that. And then the last one I just want to give a shout out to is Charlotte Perry. So I'm reading the names really tiny off of my screen. So she shared this wonderful sensory tray with different containers and flowers, and I think it was soapy water from what I remember. So just a really cool sensory experience. Now I know with all the rules that you can't do that like a group play right now, but you could encourage parents to do some soapy play at home, or you could do individual trays like I talked about before in the previous video with art and sensory play ideas for COVID-19. So I can put a link to that video as well if you guys want to take a look at that video. So yeah, this last one you can't really do as a group, but I still think it's a really cool idea to either put on the shelf for later or figure out how to do it individually for right now. So thank you so much for you guys sharing these wonderful, open-ended, sensory-rich, playful ideas to keep our creativity going, and I got lots of cool new ideas too from it. So keep it coming, guys, okay? Tonight, I want to share some of my favorite professional resources with you and talk a bit about the why behind I've chosen them, because I think it's really important to go a little bit deeper into why sometimes I share the resources that I do. So okay, so tonight, the first thing I want to do is we are going to just take a moment and talk about values and principles when it comes to choosing professional development resources, and how my values and principles as an educator, how those guide me, influence me, keep me grounded when I'm choosing different resources. And then I'm going to share with you guys some of my favorite ones or just a few new ones and of resources such as on social media, podcasts, books, and organizations, okay? So first off, I just want to spend a moment and share some of the values that I have as an educator that help define who I am as an educator, but also guide me in the kinds of resources that I am looking for. So I did a little research into the kinds of words or phrases or whatever it is that you would use to describe your values, because sometimes this might be a little bit different for us. So I can share the link where I got a list of words just to try and help give me a little inspiration. So some of my values that I go to are community and connection, creativity and inspiring, acceptance and individuality, and then reflection and confidence. So before I go further, I just want to share with you my why as to behind the reason as to why I wanted to become an early childhood consultant and why I take my role so seriously, and I'm so grateful to be able to do it. So I want to share with you my why behind why I do what I do. And you'll be able to hear some of those values in this. So my why is to reinvent the village and cultivate a community of educators, children, and their families that is strength-based, relationship-focused, and ignites creativity through play for all. So I hope what you could hear from my why behind what I do is some of those values that I have here on the screen, like such as community and creativity and acceptance and individuality as well. So my question to you is, what are your values? What are your values as an educator, as a person, a human being? Because all of that is interconnected. So sometimes it's just really good to take 20 minutes, 30 minutes or whatever, and sit and reflect and figure out what you value as a person and as an educator to help see if those are reflected in the professional development resources that you use to help continue your growth. So the next one I wanted to share with you is some of the principles that I have. Now, when I'm sharing these things with you, this isn't everything. It's just kind of giving you little tidbits of what my values and principles are as an educator and a consultant. So as many of you know, I am an early childhood educator and consultant that is deeply influenced by the Reggio Emilia approach and their core principles and values as well. And you will, if you are aware if you are aware of their values and principles, you will hear how they are very intertwined and connected with what I do. So some of the other principles that I wrote are: I believe that creative play is a holistic experience for all children is best for their development, that children are capable, competent, and valued learners, educators are researchers and co-learners, parents, family, and community are essential to everyone's happiness. Individuality, acceptance, and celebration of differences to create communities that are inclusive and equitable. And self-reflection and critical reflection are the cornerstone of growth as an educator. So these are some of the principles that I have as an educator that I use to remind myself when I'm looking for professional development resources, so that I feel like they're going to support me the best when I'm looking for new information or new strategies. Do they align with the kind of educator I want to be? So having a strong foundation in your own values and principles is really important when it comes to choosing professional development resources. Okay, so I'm going to get into some of the some of my favorite people or new resources I have found that I really wanted to share with you guys. So the first one is who to follow on social media. Now this is not everybody. I follow a lot of people on social media and I take lots of inspiration from everybody, but I can't go through everyone. So I chose a few that I feel that I really wanted to highlight as well. So the first one, and you can find all of these people, I think, are on both Facebook and Instagram. If not, I think the last one, Mark, is just on Facebook, but I could be wrong. So I really enjoy Kate Moxley. She is an early years consultant and she specializes in mental health in the early years. And she's actually been a guest writer for us for the newsletter. She has wonderful resources, and I've been lucky enough to do some training for her as well in her programs. So what I really like about her is that she focuses on the individual person, and she wants to make sure that we take care of ourselves so that we can take care of everyone else that we are so drawn to doing. So I think there's a lot of importance in that, and she's trying to take away the stigmas around mental health and just really help support people. As someone who has been through a lot of mental health issues, especially in the recent, I know I've really felt supported by her even just through social media. So that has been really nice. The next one I want to talk about is Suzanne Axelson. I am not very good at saying names, so I apologize if I'm saying them wrong. So I mostly know about her on Facebook, and she does interaction imagination. She has an amazing, amazing blog. She is influenced by the Reggio Emilia approach, but she's also influenced by many other approaches as well, as I think all of us are. And even the Reggio Emilia approach is influenced by lots of different theories and values as well. Okay, so I really enjoy her because she pushes my thinking. She challenges me to look at things differently as well, and she's also just really personable and easy to listen to in her videos, and I just feel like she's a really good voice to have in our community. Now, the next one is Liz Pemberton. She is known as the Black Nursery Manager on Instagram, and I found out about her pretty much through Kate Moxley because she was sharing her stuff, and I kind of have become a little bit like intrigued, obsessed with her social media profile, and I've been watching her stuff, and I've been learning so much about her and the kind of education that she does, and I very much am grateful for the emotional labor that she's put into sharing her knowledge and trying to make the early years better and teach us how racism is in the early years and how to create anti-racist programs. And I think that is so important for me. I am doing my learning with all of this, and I have learned so much from her and from many other educators as well. So she's actually been putting on some webinars, and I just signed up for her latest one, which is going to be looking at colorism as well. And so I think that will be really interesting to learn about. I just started learning about colorism through Red Table Talk, which is a great show on Facebook with Jada Pinkett Smith and Willow and, I forget her mom's name right now. But they have some really interesting conversations on there, and I've learned a lot. So that's where I first learned about colorism. So then when I saw Liz was putting on a webinar about that topic, and within the early years, I was like, I really want to learn more about this. So I'm excited to do that. So if you want to learn more about her webinar, you can on her Instagram profile, and I think she's on Facebook too, so she's got a link for that, okay? And then another person I like to follow on Instagram is James from Nursery Nook. He just has like the really like coolest items that he has a little business with and that he shares, and he's just really personable, and he does lots of cool training too on his Instagram account and planning. I know he's been doing a lot with that, and he is a full-time preschool teacher, I believe, and it's really fun to watch his watch his growth and share all of his things on his account too. So, and the last one is Mark Armitage. I'm really bad at saying names again, so I think that's how you say it. Now, I mostly know about him through Facebook, through the Loose Parts Play Facebook group. And again, I really like following him because we don't always have the same thoughts on things, but he always challenges me, and I'm always willing to take on different perspectives, and so I appreciate that. So he really tries to push my thinking, and I really respect that. So and he's even shared some of my stuff, which I was so honored. So he's another person, and he'll definitely get you thinking. He's got some fun stuff on there too. So I recommend you guys check all those guys out. And girls. Ladies. Not girls, ladies. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to go to was into podcasts. Now, I love podcasts because I can put them on my car. I have a long commute to my son's daycare on the way back. So sometimes like a 30-minute, 40-minute drive. And so I love to listen to long podcasts because they keep me entertained while I'm dealing with traffic. So the first podcast I want to share with you is Loose Parts Nature Play. You've probably heard me talk about it many times, but I really enjoy it because it aligns with my values of creativity and curiosity, and also within my why behind what I do for Creative Play for All. And this podcast by Dr. Carla Gull is just phenomenal. It's so practical and it's inspiring, and I think I've listened to at least half the episodes, and I just really enjoy the work that she does as well. And her group, Loose Parts Play, is phenomenal. It's a wonderful group and community to be a part of. So the next one I like to listen to is Brain Architects. So this is by Harvard University. And I like it because they have so many amazing people come on their podcast from all different parts of the world, like the connections and everything, and you get to hear from different experiences, and it is wonderful. So I really enjoy that one. I mostly learned about a lot of the speakers from this podcast on that special on Netflix, the Beginning of Life, it's called. If you have not watched that show on Netflix, that 4-part series, you need to go see it. I try to watch it almost on a yearly basis because it is so unbelievably inspiring. So that's kind of where I started hearing more about those names from Harvard University, and I was really excited when they came out with their own podcast. And then the last podcast I want to mention is Autism in Black. And this is by a woman, Marie Davis. I can't see my whole screen. Marie Davis Pierre. And I probably heard about her back in early winter. I would say we're in a different business group together, and we kind of just connected a little bit, and because we both are parents to children on the spectrum. And so when I heard she had a podcast on autism, yes, it's on Autism in Black, but I was like, I want to check it out. So she does amazing work. So she is trying to create a strong, safe community for Black families who have children on the spectrum or are adults who are Black on the spectrum as well, to be able to have that community that they need. And she also is a huge advocate for getting the services and the needs of the children and the adults on the spectrum that they need too. So she's really supporting her community, and what I like is that she's also trying to share the Black experience and what it's like to be on the spectrum. So I feel like as an educator, it's really important for us to take on these new perspectives and to try and learn more about different cultures and different experiences, so that, because that will deeply change the way that we connect with the families in our programs as well, if we can understand their experience a little bit better. Okay, so that's for podcasts. I don't know, I listen to so many more, but for time-wise, I could only list a few in each category. Okay, so for books, I'm sure you guys are getting tired of me recommending this book, but From Teaching to Thinking by Ann Palo and Margie Carter. This book is phenomenal. It is exactly that. It gets you thinking. It gets you to reflect so much on every part of your practice, from your professional development, your planning, your interactions, your documentation. Like, it is just a wonderful book. There are questions at the ends of chapters so you can further your own growth. It's a great book for like a book study or to be done in the college or university level. It is a wonderful book. So I cannot stop recommending that book enough. Another book that I really enjoy is Differently Wired. There's a subtitle to that. Raising an Exceptionally Child. Let me just find it. Give me 1 second here. Here it is. So, Differently Wired. Raising an Exceptional Child in a Conventional World. So it is. I think I forgot a podcast, didn't I? She's also the founder of Tilt Parenting, which was another podcast that I forgot to talk about. So Tilt Parenting is another great one. So she has on so many different experts and parents, and to help bring light to raising a differently wired child, whether or not they have an autism diagnosis, ADHD, sensory processing disorder. Like, there are so many different kinds of diagnoses, and for parents and educators, we need to be able to have a community where we can go and learn and be able to gain more insight into the kind of experiences that, people like my son go through and how we can better support them. So I highly recommend that podcast. And she also did the book too. For me, this is like the only parenting book out there to help that actually supported me when it came to raising our son and getting over some of the issues that I had as a parent, and getting over the should, the woulds, and the coulds that you think a lot about. So I really recommend this book as an educator to read, but also to share it with parents, especially parents who need some support, especially if they're about to go through a diagnosis, or they already might already have a child who's diagnosed. It's quite a process, and this book I found to be really helpful with that. So I typically recommend that book quite often too. So the next one I want to recommend is The Reason I Jump by David Mitchell and Naoki. I'm not going to attempt to say the last name because I will I don't want to say it very badly, so I apologize for that. But The Reason I Jump is written from I believe he was a teenager when he wrote it. It's from his perspective, and he is autistic. And so I think it's really important too to not only read and learn stories from, say, parents like myself who share stories about their children on the spectrum, but it's also really important that I read and learn from people who are actually on the spectrum, because that's the actual lived experience. So I think that's really important too. And that book was super, super wonderful. And he does have a second one too. So I really recommend that one if you want to get really in there and really get that different insight, because it was really helpful for me. And then the last book I want to recommend, which is a newer one, it's called Welcome to Winnipeg. So if you are in the Winnipeg area in Manitoba here, if you are watching this, I really recommend to check out to see if you can get your hands on a copy of this book. It's inspired by Wonder Childcare Center, which happens to be the childcare center my son goes to, and the amazing community educators there. They put this book together on sharing stories of immigrating to Winnipeg in Canada, and it highlights all of the stories that community of educators have been through. There's a lot of educators in his program that are immigrants, and so it gives them a chance to have a voice, to share their experience, and for us to be able to learn from them. And it's a beautifully documented book as well. Like, the children, they went on all these field trips, and there's all these beautiful pictures. Oh, it's just an amazing book. And so I'm still waiting to get my hands on one, but I really recommend it if you are in this area to get it. And you can find Inspired by Wonder on Instagram and Facebook as well if you want to check them out too. Okay? So, I just want to share a couple organizations that I also have been following for a long time or have just recently discovered them. Or I think I knew about them for a little bit. So the first one is Defending the Early Years. So this is a newer one that I have learned about. And you know, they have so many resources, guys. You need to go check them out. They have wonderful stuff. They have this video. I'm going to share it in the group, okay? And I'll put a link on the blog post too if you're watching this on my blog. They have a video. It's all about play. It is just inspiring. So I'll make sure I share that. And then they also have videos on there right now that help children understand this whole experience of going through COVID, and then also they have videos on there that help explain why people are protesting and to help children understand this. And they do it through puppetry, and the founders and the consultants that they have they're very inspiring, and so I learn a lot from them. And I've just kind of gotten my toes wet and discovering everything that's on their website and that they share. They put out this like 4-week webinar series that I'm still trying to get through. So they have amazing resources, and I really think that you guys check them out. The other one, if you have been listening to me for a while, you've probably heard of me talk about it before, but Lives in the Balance. So this organization is mostly done through Dr. Ross Green, and he advocates for children to be understood, and that behaviors are not bad, that we need to be able to solve them together. He's created this whole model. You can find everything you need on the CPS model on his website. He believes it should all be for free. He's also the author of The Explosive Child, which is a book that I recommend all the time. So it's all about building relationships and solving behaviors together. Which is a very different perspective. Instead of like an authoritative perspective, it takes it more of a that co-learner, collaborator, right? Which is what I highly believe, that children are capable and competent, and that educators are co-learners too. So, and that my values of community and strength-based relationships, all of that is connected to this. So it is models that I have been trying to incorporate into us with our son, especially as he gets older, so that he feels like he's a part of the solution and not just us telling him what he should or shouldn't be doing with behaviors, because he has a voice and I respect it, so I want him to be heard. So his CPS model really helps you do that. And everything is on there for free. He is also a very big advocate for helping educate people on how important it is to understand behaviors. He's the first person that I learned about the school to prison pipeline. And that video that you see here, The Kids We Lose, if you ever get an opportunity to watch it, please do. I'm always keeping on top of when they have a film or a viewing online or anything like that, and I've shared it before. It is a very life-changing video to watch, and it all starts with us in the early years and building strong relationships and understanding children. And if we can set the tone for that, we can change children's lives. So I don't want to go off on a tangent right now with that. But it's really important that we see how important our roles are at such an early time, and relationships are so important. Okay, so those are two organizations that I really wanted to recommend. I have lots of free resources, and I really wanted to highlight them. Okay, so I want to leave with you guys. I hope that you guys set aside a little bit of time, like 30 minutes or so, and write down some of your values and principles. Your values and principles, they're going to evolve, they're going to change, new perspectives are going to come in, you're going to be able to write them more, more eloquently, or, you'll discover new things. So spend some time now, write them down to see what you really value and what you are looking for when you're looking for a new professional learning, and ask yourself, do they align with your values and principles? And if they do, go forward. If they don't, and it's just not something that you value or respect, then you need to know what that line is, okay? So I think that's just a really simple question and a great way to end the little somewhat quick video that I've been doing here for the last bit. Okay, so before we go, I really wanted to highlight one of my most favorite things that I have about this newsletter is that I love it when you guys get to share your stories and your experiences. And so I would like to ask you guys to be a guest writer for the upcoming newsletters. I haven't put a newsletter out in a little bit because people are on vacation and I haven't been able to get anybody to guest write yet. So I'm working on that. Okay, so if you go to that link there's a form, a simple Google form that you can fill out. I'm super flexible. I want you to write what inspires you. I'm not going to dictate the topics or anything like that. You write what you want to write. It's your experience, your story. So you share that, and I love learning and listening to all of them, so I really hope that you would consider being a guest writer for the newsletter as well, because I really truly believe what's the best thing about it is getting to create this community online and strengthen our profession and learn from each other, because we are a worldwide community here, and I think it's just invaluable. Okay, there we go. Okay, well, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's video on some of my favorite professional learning resources, and hope you have a great rest of your week.